Hi, Captain Peter Cutsey. Our briefing today will be raw data. This will be a two-part briefing, two different videos. We're sitting on taxiway Gulf holding short of runway 29 at Kabul, Afghanistan. The field elevation 5,877 feet. Since the inception of new technology, new generation, that we're sitting in a Boeing 737NG, pilots have been trained in many cases to believe the computed data. That's fine, but we have to check the computed data against the raw data to ensure that what is computed is synchronized with the raw data. Many accidents and incidents over the last 40 years have occurred because pilots trusted the computed data without checking the raw data. Let's have a look at the instrumentation in the airplane, then we'll come to a PowerPoint. Our primary flight display and our nav display. The nav display in the map mode is computed data. Primary flight display, raw data, the airspeed indication. Raw data, the altimeter indication, the vertical speed from the IRS, the aircraft symbol reference, angle of attack, compass rose. This represents the raw data that I'm speaking about. On the right side, on the nav display, in this mode, we are looking at computed data. So let's have a brief look at the different settings from the EFIS panel, which is over here in the airplane. And I've blown that picture up here. And we'll start talking about the different selections. We have an approach selection, VOR mode, that is, map mode, and a plan mode. What we'll be looking at in particular today is the VOR expanded, VOR center, expanded approach mode, and center approach mode. Let's go to the VOR expanded. This is raw data. We have the Kabul VOR 112.0 tuned, and this is our position, and we're sitting on the 104 radial in this picture here. And if you notice on the EFIS panel, which is this panel here, on the mode control panel, is in the VOR mode. All right. Let's have a look at the EFIS VOR center mode. So the same setup as far as nav aid is concerned, but we're in a center mode. And that is achieved by pushing center in the VOR selection here. The next is the EFIS approach expanded mode. If you were doing an ILS or a localizer approach, you would have the mode selector on the EFIS panel in the approach selection. In this particular case, it's an example with IAKW. The ILS for runway 29 are tuned at Cabo. Now we'll look at the EFIS approach mode centered. So same as previous, but in a centered view. And of course, remember that's achieved by pushing the center switch on the selector. Let's look at some other sources of raw data, which in many cases is totally forgotten by most pilots after they've completed the preliminary pre-flight procedure, is the IRS panel on the aft overhead panel. Far out of view and forgotten in many cases. Track ground speeds available. Present position, lat and long. Actual wind, that's true wind, direction and speed. And heading. So that's something that's so important, and it's all part of the raw data we were talking about. Let's go ahead and have a look at another navigation panel on the overhead panel over the captain's position, where you would be selecting something different if you had a problem. Normal is the normal position for these switches. The N1 set speed ref panel in the center panel at the top of the center panel in this area here, where you can make manual selections in the event of FMC problems. So the last thing we want to show you here is think of raw data as a cake and the magenta as being the icing. The icing on any cake is the extra. So the extra has to be synchronized with the computed. So wherever you have an opportunity when executing a departure procedure, or in this case, we'll be talking about an arrival procedure, that is a VOR DME approach to runway 29 in Kabul. You want to think about using the raw data back and forth to compare the computed to the raw data. In our case today, we will take off of runway 29, come back over the VOR, and then on vectors to parallel the 102 radial outside of Lanny at 14,000 feet and intercept the VOR DME approach, that is, intercept the 102 radial. So the Kabul VOR is 112.2, and the inbound course will be 282. And I've set it already just for the demo purposes. You can see it's set on both sides here on the in the course windows. Also preset the VOR on the number 1 VOR 112.0, as we have here. Also on the first officer side, and in standby the ILS frequency of 110.5. All right, this will end part 1 now that we've had a small briefing on what to expect with raw data. In part 2, we will be dynamic on vectors for the VOR DME approach to runway 29. Thanks for watching and see you shortly.